All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Noble with Noble. This is episode 19. So close to the 20 mark. I'm really excited for next week, but we're not focused on that yet. We're focused on today, and today we have Mr. Cole Resnick, little
What's
baby
going
bro
on?
in the brokerage.
Baby bro.
Baby bro in the brokerage. Yeah,
Okay.
how you doing?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah?
I'm doing good. Business as usual. Life's good.
Good.
Just working on keeping things going and getting ready for spring.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you on the podcast.
Dude, it's honestly great to be here. I thought I was going to be one of the first guests, but here we are at number 19, and I couldn't be happier.
You know what? For me, it's a ranking system of who I like the best.
Exactly.
And I kind of felt bad. So I kind of, I wanted to slot you in.
I probably,
earlier,
you know what? I understand. I put you in the same range.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I'm glad that we have a mutual understanding of each other.
whenever you start your podcast, I can't wait to be the third person on your podcast because, now that you've been on my podcast, I'm sure I'll be up there as a top 5 of
Fair enough,
yours,
man.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll get into it a little bit, because I wanted to talk about, because you're a young guy, and you've been in the business for a little bit now, and wanted to talk about what it's been like starting when you're so young. You've worked on a team, you've worked by yourself, so we're gonna touch on that. And you're a big music guy now, big I was gonna say rapper, but you don't go by rapper.
Artist. It's all encompassing, right?
Artist.
So I've been in real estate now for 2 years. Just hit my two-year mark.
Congratulations.
And thank you. Yeah, I also just turned 24 on Thursday.
A couple days ago, yeah.
Yeah, so, as time goes on in real estate, I think I'm just trying to more so grow myself. I find growing yourself is a big part of growing your business. So if you're going to grow as an individual, as a realtor, in order to grow your business, I think it's super important to grow yourself and kind of focus in on, the more important things. And I'm talking more so from a sales perspective. Like, I'm trying to work on more interpersonal things and, being able to connect with people as much as possible. I think that's probably my favorite thing, and that's why I'm in this business.
Okay, how did you start in real estate? Like, what prompted you to go into it, especially at a young age?
Yeah, I was at Western. I was studying business management, and I kind of got to a point where I realized school wasn't for me. I'm not going to be the kind of guy that's sitting in a classroom and teaching a lecture or learning from a lecture and then going to a desk to work a 9 to 5.
I was the exact same.
I can't do that personally. That drove me crazy. The thought of that. So, I ended up leaving Western. Initially, my thought was I'm going to come home and do school from home because maybe just Western was too much for me and, being away from home. So I came home, tried it out at Ryerson. I was there for a week. Cried on the subway. No joke.
On the way there or the way home?
The way home. It was like a music video. It was when you're sitting looking out the window.
You're just imagining yourself in a music video.
Yeah, and you know what? I was I am so unhappy. My life is just this is not where I want to be right now. So I ended up leaving school altogether. And
so hold on, what song were you thinking about when you're crying on the subway?
Honestly, it was probably "Stand" by Eminem or something.
Okay.
Something really. What I mean? It's just nothing's going right now.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, so I ended up leaving school altogether. I was working at a restaurant. I was a manager at a restaurant for a year. And I thought to myself, I was listen, why don't I get into sales? I come from a sales background already. My dad's in sales. Both my brothers are in sales. And I've always been a talker. I love to talk. So it's why not put that together and sell something? And if you're going to sell something, you might as well sell the highest ticket item that you can. Right. And I think that was a big part of my mentality was I actually, funny story. I actually never told you this. I almost got into insurance before I got into real estate. Okay. So I had an interview at Canada Life, downtown. And I was talking to this guy about it. And we were just, going through, just even commission structures and whatever and how the pay works and how everything works. And kind of got home and I was like, what am I doing? I might as well try to sell a house. Right? Why am I going to sell insurance? I might as well sell a high ticket item. There's nothing wrong with insurance, by the way. Honestly, there's. Listen.
No, my mom's been in insurance for
my brother started in insurance too. Everybody
when she was
insurance.
18, 19.
Yeah, so same as my oldest brother. Yeah,
and she's still doing it. So
yeah, I just kind of figured this is probably the right fit for me, real estate. In terms of sales, my brothers and my dad are in renovations. Every sales job that you get is going to be a grind. It's really just a matter of how much are you willing to put into it. And, if you expect big things from yourself, you're going to get big things. So, that's something I'm even working on now.
Did you have any sales experience before you went into real estate? Because I guess, working in a restaurant, like, yeah, you work with people and, you can speak to people and, you're managing people and, it's the same kind of thing, but it's not really sales.
No. So I didn't have any, concrete, I was a sales associate at Sport Check in high school. You know what I mean? As much as, there's two schools of thought. As much as you might think that's not sales, it is. No matter what, if you're convincing somebody in one way or another, or you're helping them make an informed decision, that's sales, right? And whether it's you're selling them a pair of skis, a tennis racket, a house, whatever, insurance, whatever you're selling them,
it's all the same. Yeah,
it's the same, right? Like, you're trying to make a connection with that person to help facilitate what they need, right? And somebody comes into Sport Check, they don't know what skis to get. The whole reason they come into the store is to get help from a sales associate, right? So that even the restaurant, right? When I was a manager there, that's not so much sales, but at the same time, you're selling yourself. You're selling an experience, right. And I think that was actually one of my favorite experiences working there. But yeah, I would say that those are like the only, and I knocked doors, a couple times for my dad when I was like 16.
Yeah, now you do it.
Scary, scary experience when you're that young.
Do you find it difficult to get into real estate at such a young age? Because most people in your network are finishing school, starting their first jobs. Not many people are moving out right now, and your sphere of influence, your network, the people who you have brothers and older brothers, and they have friends, but for you, in your network of people, do you find it difficult to find clients at this point, or when you started?
So yeah, I think it's pretty hard to get, obviously, the people that are 24, 23, anything younger than that, like around my age, because it is so expensive to live in Toronto. There's no other way to cut it up. Whether you're buying and you need a 20% down payment, the chances are, you're not getting qualified for a mortgage unless you have a cosign, which in most cases, the younger people do, right? In order to be able to purchase, you need help from somebody else. And even when it comes to rent, the rental market's been so crazy that, people don't want to pay $2,500 for a one bedroom and no parking. And, it's tough, right? So for that younger demographic, I think it is a little bit harder to find those clients. But I think once that referral base starts to grow, and I think that's where pretty much all my successes come from. That's where, the clients are sending you. So if I'm working with a 27-year-old, a 30-year-old, or whatever, somebody that's more established, that has a little bit more money than, the average person in their younger 20s, that's where a lot of that business is going to come from. And you're going to be in those circles of influence, right? So you're almost just bridging out into different circles of influence. Like that's how I've found it so far.
And I think even for you, you look a bit older than a 24.
Only with the beard. Without the beard, I look like I'm 14. So right, don't be fooled.
But still, even then, I think looking a little bit older and going out and building that trust in people, and like you said, having the confidence, right? You manage a restaurant at such a young age, and you've grown up again with brothers where they're sort of, I don't want to say making you seem older than you are.
And I'm gonna cut you off there because it's not just about looking older. It's just the way that you sound. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like to make myself sound like I'm older or more established or know more than I do. But when you have the confidence and the ability to project yourself and really tell people how you feel or what you think, one of my favorite things in real estate, and it's going to sound so twisted and backwards, but one of my favorite things is telling a client that this is not the right place for you, right? Because, and I think a lot of people think, well, why would you ever want to steer yourself away from making money or steer yourself away from an opportunity, even if it seems like a golden opportunity, whether it's a tenant or a buyer, and it seems like it's something that you can get done. Never sell yourself. Like, don't allow other people to just get into situations that are going to make you money.
You're the expert, right?
And
that's the thing.
Exactly. Long term, that's what.
Yeah, if they trust that you're the expert and you're the guy that knows what they're talking about, yeah, okay, they might see something that they like, but as soon as you see something that is off, as soon as you tell them, it makes it so much better.
And they gain respect for you. your client is going to have so much more respect for you if you tell them, hey, this is not the best way to go. This is not, we could find something better. And I think that builds a lot of respect, from your clients. And I think that helps strengthen the bond, right? Like I've had those really tough conversations where, there isn't that much on the market at a certain point, and I'm starting to say, I always tell a client, don't stress until I stress about finding a place, right? Which, thank God, that hasn't happened yet. There's been a couple of instances where it gets a little, we're getting a little close to occupancy date, but I think overall, like even when there's not that much on the market right now, if they have a little bit of time, it's like, let's put a pause on this for a second. Let's kind of backtrack and see what else we can look at and if there's anything else that we can do. And, they appreciate that patience and understanding so much more than you rushing into something and saying, yeah, you know what, this is a great one. It's a great fit for you, even if it's not. So yeah, I think
I've had that too. Like last summer, I've been in that stressful situation where, my clients want, or even even last month where my clients got accepted 2 days before they were moving in. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you get to that point where you're kind of scrambling, but at the same time, all of those no's that you got before make up for the one yes, because as soon as you find that one place, it's like, you can see
that's the way it goes.
That they're so much happier. And like, even now, like I had a buyer, we went out last week and we walk into this, it's a townhouse. Okay. We walk in and we walk up the stairs. First thing at the top of the stairs is a kitchen. Look in the kitchen, no dishwasher. I go, done. And my client, like he likes most of these places, right? Like we're sending stuff every single day, and there may be 3 or 4 that they actually liked, and this was one of them. And like, I guess maybe I'm missing the pictures, or they didn't really have it in the picture, so you couldn't see. I walked up there.
That happened to me too. They didn't have a single appliance, let alone
no appliances.
Nothing, like literally nothing.
That's crazy.
No fridge, no dishwasher, no stove.
Well, there had to. Okay, I feel like there has to be a fridge.
No fridge.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
It was a showing in our area. No fridge, no dishwasher, no stove.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was for lease, right?
No, for sale.
Oh, for sale.
Oh yeah, it wasn't for lease. Yeah, it was for sale, and like they didn't have any. Like,
okay.
listen,
no,
granted,
this was for sale. This is like
that's what
like
I'm saying.
You're
so they
going
to
buy.
Yeah, they could have taken the appliances with them, but it's like how good is your fridge?
No,
you know what I mean?
But still, it's like you walk into a place and it's like, they appreciate that you can see those things. Sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then it's also pointing out the different ways to get around things, right? Like I literally right before this podcast, I was just on the phone with a buyer, and he's saying, yeah, I just showed my wife some of the units, and she hates this one. There's also that aspect of sales where it's like you have to turn on the sales charm, and it's not that you're convincing them to get into something that's not good. It's just like, as realtors, we can see past certain things, right? So if it's just a fresh coat of paint or curtains or a light fixture that's going to make a huge difference, we know that too, right? A place isn't necessarily not good or not in good shape because it just needs a fresh coat of paint. There's certain things that we need to say. So it's like the same thing there, right? I had this conversation literally 20 minutes ago, and I was like, listen, like this is still a pretty good option. Actually, the word that he used, that his wife used for it, was disgusting. She thought it was disgusting. But you can see past those little things. Listen, sometimes people have their opinions.
But also, if they're buying a place, you have to let them know that they can make renovations if they want to, right? It's different than a lease where you don't really have that option.
It's also the budget thing too, though, right? Like everybody does have their own budget. So some people want to move into a turnkey condo. Like they just don't want to touch a single thing. Chances are, like, unless you really have an extended budget, you're probably not going to get a turnkey place because, the point where your budget is, let's say we're talking 700,000 in Toronto and Thornhill, like wherever we're talking 700,000. That right now in the market, that's not, a place where you're going to get a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo with parking and all the bells and whistles.
I mean, listen, we applied to one actually, no, that's not true. We did apply to one last week, but it was very undervalued. It was priced at $700 at $699. This place was definitely going to go for $750. It's sold conditionally, so I don't know. But yeah, I told my clients, I was like, there's no point in us even putting in an offer because within your budget, it's going to go for at least $750, and that's not, like, you're not going to be able to get it.
It's not feasible. See, and then there's the opposite side of it. Like I showed The same phone call, 20 minutes, so much. It's great. I have so much content for this podcast for a 20-minute phone call. Yeah, we were looking at this other place and it just sold conditionally, and we were kind of just waiting to see what it sold for because it was on the market for, I think, like a month or something. And yeah, it sold like not considerably under asking, but it sold under asking, which, you know, gives them the motivation too. It's like, okay, so if this place sold, it was 715, sold for 7, and then the one that was on the market that we looked at was 7, and we could, you know, use that as our comp and get it for 685, 680, 690, whatever it is, and have an extra 10K to go towards whatever those shortcomings were with the unit. You know, like you're going to be in a good position.
Exactly. And that's why whenever I do a setup for a search too for my clients, I always put them over budget a little bit.
Always, yeah.
So that when we find something,
you want to see what's available.
You want to see what's
right?
available, like even for a lease, right? If someone's looking at like 2,200, for example, I'll put it up to 23, 24, always, and they go, oh my God, these places are, you know, so much better.
The other thing is with that too, especially with the leases, is when you're showing somebody something for 2,200 a month, there's little cheeky listings on there that are 2,250, 2,225 that if we leave it at 22, you're not seeing that. And, you know, an extra $25 a month, $300 a year in rent, you know, you could be missing out on a place that could be the one that you like. Right. So it is always important to bump it up. And then there's always the negotiating power.
Yeah, you can always negotiate
depending on the situation, on the, you know, on the listing agent.
It has to be reasonable.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I think trying to find common ground with tenants. I think there's a lot of expectations as to like, oh yeah, it's like 2,700. Like, let's try to get it for 23.
Yeah.
Nah.
This is what I say. If it's up for 27 and you want to go for 23, you give me a reason why.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to listen to you. You know, I'm acting in your best interest, and if you want to do it, fine. But if you can't give me if your reason is just because I want to, you know,
it doesn't work. I know it's not going to work. It doesn't
work.
And you know, the other thing is like you got to understand as a client, like it's my reputation, right? If I had a listing at 2,700, and you know, I was like, okay, yeah, we priced it aggressively, but you know, we still were expecting, we had our expectations, and somebody came in with 23, I wouldn't even know it. Like it's almost like a slap in the face. You know what I mean? It's a slap in the face to your pricing, which maybe you really did overprice it and you deserve it. But I mean, most of the time, like, listen, I pre-qualify every rental that I do. Like, I don't really like to go into a place if I don't tell them, hey, this is my tenant, this is their profile, here's some of the information on their, you know, income and credit score, whatnot. Do you think this would be a good fit? I think that there's nothing more beneficial than already knowing if, you know, this is something that the landlord would be interested in, right? Because if you're in a precarious situation and you have, you know, maybe somebody that doesn't have credit, and then you go in and they don't really know that the landlord or the listing agent isn't going to like what they have, they're set up for failure and they don't even know it. Right. So I think it's all about building and managing expectations, especially when it comes to rentals. Yeah. Right. Because people want to live. It's very expensive to live, but it's like, hey, this is what you can get. And I kind of laid it out for them. And if they give you a yes or a no, you're saving yourself and your client trouble. Right. And travel time and exactly. And that's the most important part.
Yeah. I mean, I've made those mistakes before where I've gone out, I've had clients, and, you know, it's unfortunate because there's a lot of discrimination that goes on. Especially in the Toronto market, which is, you know, it's sad to see, you know, because you have people of different ethnicities who own the place, and then we have clients of other ethnicities trying to buy, and it's just, you know, they don't want those type of people living in their unit. And I've taken a client out, it's 2 boys, and they're both friends, and, you know, we applied to a couple of places, and immediately I get a call back. They say no, they're not interested in having 2 boys who are friends.
I had that same thing with two women, like 27 years old. One was in insurance. Funny enough, gonna keep bringing it up. Making great money, great credit score. I've also rented to them like a year ago or like a year before. And the other one worked with I don't know, like Rogers or Bell or something. Again, secure job. She's been there for a while. And the reason was that they had women in there before and they just didn't want it again, right? So it's terrifying. And how do you explain that to a client, right? And I think again, it's managing expectations. Like, hey, listen, at the beginning, that first initial phone call you have, this is the process. You lay it all out, right? You don't want them running into a situation that's, whoa. When they look at you and they're like, what just happened? And they're very unhappy. That happens. Like
But you keep fighting, right?
Exactly.
That's the thing, right?
Exactly.
Because
And
at
that's
the end
it.
of the day,
Yeah.
the landlord is the one who owns the property. They're the ones who, decide who the
Yep.
tenants are going to be. And if your tenants don't fit in the demographic or the, gender or whatever,
as illegal as it is, they'll find another way, right? And that's a problem with the rental market. There's so many loopholes. And how about the whole pet thing? That you can't have you can't legally say that somebody can't have a pet, right? Or you can't rent it unless the building, obviously in the buildings
the laws.
and
The
yeah,
condo
in
laws.
their bylaws that they say that this is a no pet building. Most of them are restricted, right? Which means like you can have a pet up to like 25 pounds or something. But landlords legally aren't allowed to turn you down. They'll just do it anyways, right? They'll find another way to do it. So it is. Listen, it's all expectations, right? And trying to manage that.
Yeah. So I guess shifting gears a little bit, you've done real estate by yourself and you've been in real estate on a team. So you started off on a team, right? What was your process like and why did you choose to go on a team versus going by yourself when you started? Because I've had people ask me, hey, I'm just joining real estate. Are you by yourself? I'm thinking about joining a team. And like, there are pros and cons to both, but I only have my experiences from not joining a team, and I want to hear something from you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I joined a team. It was somebody that I was really close with, like, went to camp with growing up. And as I was getting my license, like, we started talking, and it was just kind of like a seamless transition, right? It was like, come join the team, come join the brokerage. Easy enough, right? So I never really explored starting out on my own. I kind of just went right into the team. It was kind of like predetermined from like a few months before I even got my license. The team I was on it was great. I mean, I think the thing that I love about a team is camaraderie, number one. Like you get to work with great people and everybody kind of bounces off each other, and accountability. And I think that's also very important, right? When you're alone, which I'll get to, you're only accountable for yourself, and either you surround yourself with good people who are going to help hold you accountable, because this business, it's like if you're not doing anything, you're not making anything, right? So yeah, the team experience, it was really interesting. I learned a lot. I got to work with some great people. I got to see some, great listings and be brought along on different projects. But yeah, I mean, I found like once I was towards the end of working with the team, it was more so like I was just ready to kind of see where I could take it myself, and whether you're on a team or not, like teams operate very differently, right? Like there's no one kind of set, like this is the team structure. It's really on a per team basis, right? So I loved it. We had the opportunity to have our weekly meetings, and then everybody would kind of do their own thing. We'd set our own goals, which is great, right? Again, the accountability. But what I like about working with just myself and not on a team is like I basically kind of have a team, right? Like I consider you somebody that I can turn to and say, hey man, like I need help with XYZ. Like I have these showings I can't make, and if I don't have you, I've got Anna or
a bunch of other people.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Tyler. I have so many people in the office that are willing to help out. And yeah, I mean, I think the decision was just like I was ready to grow on my own. And I think until you're like kind of thrown out to the sharks or to the crocodiles, like that's where you really have to figure out what to do. And in those moments of not knowing what to do and hey, like I'm kind of lost here for a minute, that's when you're gonna grow, right?
So what would you recommend for someone who's just starting in real estate?
It's a tough question.
I know.
That's a tough question. You know what? I'm turning this on you. Why didn't you join a team? And then I'll answer that question.
Okay. No, that's good. So I didn't join a team. I actually went in with the expectation that I was going to join a team, because it seems like, a business where, again, like you said, you start off, you don't know anything, you don't know anyone, right? Like obviously I have my sphere of influence, but not everyone's going to move out right away, right when I start. So when I actually had my meeting with Darren, I was talking to him about joining a team. I was like, this is what I think. And he said, you can do that, but I would recommend not joining a team, because the support that we have, that we're giving you,
It's amazing.
is enough so that you'll still be able to learn and grow, and we'll help you out. But, you won't have that person, like you can call us anytime, but number one, you're not going to have to commission split with someone on your team with your team lead. And number two, like I said, the support that they're giving you is enough so that you're basically on a team, but you're by yourself, right?
Exactly.
And most people that I've spoken to, obviously Slavens is a lot different than most brokerages, because most brokerages, like I have friends who are, at Royal LePage and Forest Hill and
et cetera,
Remax, whatever, and they're going out by themselves and they're not getting any support, right? So it's a lot harder for them to go out and really build their careers. Whereas for me, I feel like the right decision that I made by joining this brokerage, I'm getting the help that I would on a team, but by myself. Exactly. Right. So if I were to do it again, I would do the exact same thing, because I feel like I'm succeeding enough on my own that I don't need a team, but I still have those people that I can, like you said, go back and ask questions. And, like I have someone like Rachel Levy, who's been on the podcast, and like I'll just go into her office, call her anytime, and she's, happy to have me as a part of her team, but she helps me out enough so I can go and ask her questions, and she's, she helps me out and I don't have to worry about it.
I think honestly I think that's the most important part for me in real estate is having that office, like our brokerage, from what I've heard, like we really do it differently. Right. And I think that is a huge part of why I was so comfortable, going out on my own. Of course I had that conversation with Darren, like before anything happened. And, it seems like that transition into what could be very scary once you start on a team and you're going to go on your own, with the right people makes it so much more seamless. And
if you were to go back, would you join a team again, or would you start off real estate on your own?
I would, that's a really tough question. The team brought me so many amazing things. It really did at the beginning. You know what I mean? Like when you're just starting out, it is very helpful. I don't think I would change my trajectory of what I had, what I started with and where I am now. I think it kind of gives me there's a lot of insight, a lot of things that I took from it. Not everything's sunshine and rainbows, whether you're on your own or you're in a team, right? So I think that there was a lot that I took from being on the team, both amazing and things that I personally would have done differently, but applied them to, my business going forward. And listen, maybe one day I'll have my own team.
Yeah, I was going to say, is the plan to work on your own and have your own team, or are you...
I love working with people. Like I love working with people. I love having that, leadership kind of role. You know what I mean? I like being the guy that people can come talk to and ask questions anytime that they have. I think it's definitely a possibility, down the line. Right now, I'm still working on growing my own business, which has been a lot of fun and super exciting. And, I'm excited to see where we end off this year. But yeah, I mean, it's up in the air.
You manage the restaurant, so you can manage a real estate.
And that's one thing that I kind of took away from the restaurant, right? Is like I had to have conversations with people that were like 4 or 5 years older than me about, like, hey, we got to sit down and talk. Like that's weird when you're 21 managing a restaurant and you're going out to some guy who's 27 who's been there for so much longer than you. You're like, listen, like I saw this go down. We got to kind of do something about that, right?
And they trust you.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it is what it is, right? And I actually got hired as a busboy at that restaurant. And while I was in training, they promoted me. Like I had 2 days of training. The first day of training, they promoted me to like a server. And then I was cleaning the bathroom one day, and the GM walks in. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "No, I'm just cleaning up." He's like, "We should have a talk." And we spoke. And he's like, "What do you think about management?" I was like, "Oh, that sounds great." And it was just like a 2-day promotion from busboy to manager.
Busboy to manager.
So
that's insane.
You know what? That's actually a pretty good title for a book or something. Busboy to manager. That's not bad. But yeah, I just love being in that role. So who knows? Okay. Who knows?
That's good. Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit about your music career too, because you're kind of doing that on the side, and is it tough? Because it's the same thing, right? Like you're putting out music and you're trying to put yourself out there, but it's difficult.
And if you're not doing it the right way, you're not making money. It's very similar to real estate, right? Where it's like you could put in so many hours. Like I don't even know how much I put in at this point. You know, I had a day last week where I had showings and I was working. It was pretty much like 8:30 I was downtown, or 9 o'clock I was downtown, until like got home at like 5 of like just straight like showings and running around. 5 to like 8 o'clock I'm in my studio at home, and then like 8:30 to like 12:30 at night I was filming a music video. And that one day was like, I loved it. I loved it. When you're
when you're busy, it's great.
Things that you love. You know what I mean? Like, I know you play drums too. I'm sure like when you, after a long day, but you have like you book some space and you guys jam out, like I'm sure you guys love that.
Yeah, it's a release.
It is. And it's just like a passion, right? So I think for me, the management of time between real estate and music, it's hard because I love music so much. I've been writing music since I was like 10 years old, right? Started recording it, just like basically off my computer, like just whatever. And, now I'm just, I really see a future in it. Like I had some success on TikTok and then I kind of like just stopped. I just couldn't manage that social media. Like I felt like I was like kind of selling out and like all this stuff. And there's a lot, like you got to be on there pretty frequently.
This business too, it's the exact same thing. You gotta
and, be
like constant.
Yeah, and with TikTok, like I went up like 30,000 followers like pretty quick, and I was going live every single night during the pandemic. And I remember like people's expectations of me got like very skewed, and it got very hard to manage those people as well. It's like, listen, I'm still a human being. Like I'm not even like a celebrity, you know what I mean? But people like attach themselves to you.
Well,
right?
You're a celebrity to me, so
I appreciate that. But yeah, it's so tough, and that kind of like everything is always fighting at once, right? It's like your mentality of, hey, I really want to do this, but that's taking away from this. It's gonna sound very contradictory, but I'm a very firm believer that if you don't put your all into one thing, then it's gonna be hard for the other things to work out, right? Like if I put my all into real estate, then I'd say I have 99%, but if I don't have that 1%, then who knows, right? But I love music so much that I'm willing to sacrifice that and work on the music too, right? But if I don't put my all into music, it's like, who's to say that that's gonna, so like, it's always that in your head, right? I think to this point, I've managed it very well in terms of, how I spend my time and what I love to do. And yeah, I mean, I love it. I got a new song coming out March 31st. Yeah. Which I'm pretty pumped for.
All right, that's good. Well, actually, we're almost at the end here.
Beautiful.
I'm going to leave you with one question.
Yes.
And I always ask, what's some advice that you would give a new realtor? Or someone just going into a business by themselves, even if it's a music career.
Yeah.
Or,
I would say put your head down. And this is one thing that I wish I did myself because I stress myself out so much. I would say put your head down and silence everything in your mind telling you that you can't do it. Because you can. If you believe you can, you're going to do it. And surround yourself with like-minded people and good people, whether you're in real estate, at your office. If you're making music, surround yourself with like-minded producers, engineers, and just put your head down and do it because you can do it. It's just a matter of if you tell yourself you can.
That's good. Thanks, Cole.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thank you.
No, I really appreciate it. No, it was a good chat.
You know what? It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
I'm glad. Well, maybe we'll have you on in a year or two, but by that time, maybe we'll be on an episode like 70.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
80,
maybe
90?
we can even do my stage name at that point, right? Like we're not even going to do Cole Resnick.
It could be just you as either like the top real estate agent or as a top artist on Spotify.
One of them, I'm feeling it. One of them's hitting. One of them's hitting.
Got to manifest it. You got to put your head down
and just do it. And just do it.
So anyway, thanks so much.
No, man,
where can people find you online?
So Instagram, Cole Resnick Real Estate, or Real Kid Cole if you're in the mood to listen to something good. TikTok, Real Kid Cole. That's it. For the real estate stuff, it's all on my Instagram, Cole Resnick Real Estate. And yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where home is.
We're gonna link it. So
beautiful.
People are gonna be able to see it online. And no, thanks so much. We had a
Appreciate
great chat.
No, you're awesome.
See everyone next week. Thank you.
Take it easy.
All right.